They walked, as it were, in a black vapor wrought of veritable darkness itself, that as it was breathed, brought blindness not only to the eyes, but to the mind, so that even the memory of colors and of forms and of any light faded out of thought. Night always had been and always would be, and night was all.
Welcome to the Wayward Wizards podcast. This week we are reading Book 4, Chapter 9 of The Two Towers, a chapter entitled Shelob's Lair. My name's Logan.
And my name is Zach.
And before we jump in today, I just wanted to put out a little call for everyone to subscribe, rate the podcast, write a review, put some stars on Apple Podcasts, to subscribe on YouTube, to make a comment. Yeah, it just helps other people find this beautiful work of staggering genius that we're putting out into the world. So, will you help us out? I would love it. It would help us defeat Shelob in a horrible cave in Mordor, if you could do that. Thank you.
This chapter is absolutely fantastic.
It's my favorite.
It's gotta be, right? I know we say that all the time.
I remember the very first time I read this, I remember being shocked by this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Because I really didn't see it coming.
Mm.
The piece with, the fact that there's this horrible spider.
Yeah.
And I think I probably wasn't a great reader. So I didn't really understand that Gollum was going to be this deceptive, you know? It is so different than I think any other chapter in the book.
Oh, it's terrifying, heart pounding, exhilarating.
Including Moria. It's so gothic and horror, sort of themed.
Yeah. Yeah.
But boy, it just clips along. I read it so fast.
Yeah, it really does. It moves. It's interesting that you call back to Moria, because I think there's a direct callback to Moria in this chapter, where it's not since Moria had they been in a place so dark, or it was even darker than Moria. The other place that it calls back to is the Barrow.
Yeah, totally. That actually, I think that's an even better comparison than Moria, because it's so it has kind of horror, aspects to it that Moria doesn't exactly. Moria is more questy, sort of high fantasy-ish, I think.
Yeah. I think the idea of this being this ancient haunted place, it's haunted not by a ghost but by a giant spider. Also, of course, Sam's blade comes from Tom Bombadil's barrow. There's also this they invoke Tom's name to save them in the barrow, and here they invoke Galadriel's name.
Yeah. Do they mention Tom in this chapter?
They do.
Yeah, and that's a deep callback also.
Sam says, "I wish old Tom was near us now."
I kind of wondered if, I know Tom's power doesn't, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I think just invoking his name, it can't help but sort of hearten you in some way,
Yeah. The way that Tom just wasn't scared of the Barrow Wight, Sam wishes he could have that kind of bravery now.
Yeah, exactly.
This chapter is such a great payoff chapter, because there's been so much foreshadowing leading up to this moment. Really, all the way back to the beginning of this book. Gollum has been planning this trap, laying it for a long time. And so the payoff is really great. I can't imagine reading this for the first time not knowing what's coming, because I can't remember a time when I didn't know about this.
I really do remember it being a big shock for me.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is that Faramir's staff is the file and the staff both play a huge saving role in this.
Yeah.
Sam cracks that staff over Gollum's back and breaks it. Holy crap. I cheered.
Yeah, you have to hit somebody hard to break a staff like that.
Oh my gosh. What
that's
a
wild.
Devastating hit. Sam has been waiting for that for a while.
Yeah, that's a little pent up consequence there for Gollum.
There's also this sense of, we already talked about how he and Sam both, Frodo and Sam both invoke Galadriel's name. There's also a moment when Frodo says an elvish phrase, and it comes out of his mouth almost like it's a different voice, and it cuts through this darkness deeper than darkness.
Yeah.
And so there's this, like, where does that come from? Does it come from Galadriel? Does it come from the Valar? Does it come from God? Like,
mystery.
Whose voice is that?
Yeah, it's definitely a mystery. It's something that comes up out of Frodo's soul,
Yeah, but I guess it represents Tolkien's whole understanding of grace, that it's something outside of the self. But I just almost get this image of Galadriel praying for Frodo and Sam so that when this moment comes, she can give them this grace. Yeah. And Sam has this vision of her that strengthens him, and then this voice comes out of Frodo's mouth. I have to, in my head, I would speculate that this comes straight from Galadriel's bending her will.
That makes sense. The fact that it's elvish, that it's so connected to the file and to the light and the darkness.
Yeah. All right, well, you ready to hop in?
Yes, I am. Wow, this is such a short little chapter. Interesting. Yeah, do we want to start at the kind of beginning of the day here?
Yeah, I think it's important, though, to kind of just kind of set the stage. We mentioned this at the end of the last episode, but I think a couple consequential things have just happened. The first one that I wanted to mention, and I neglected to mention this last chapter, Tolkien said that he set down the book for a while, and he came back and read the moment where Gollum goes to wake up Frodo, and Sam misinterprets he thought it was pawing at Master, when in reality it was more of a caress. Tolkien said that was just a really consequential moment. That was a real turning point in the whole book. But it also said that it moved him to tears, that he began to weep as he read it. I think we should take it seriously, the idea that Gollum might have repented of his plan, if not for Sam's being uncharitable towards him.
Yeah.
And just how sad that is, I think is worth bringing back up.
Yeah, it's definitely a tragic moment.
The other thing that happened just at the end of last chapter that I don't think I realized fully until preparing for the podcast last week is that Frodo releases Smeagol from his oath.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good point that you made last week.
Says, you've done what you promised and you're free. Free to go back to food and rest wherever you wish to go, except to the servants of the enemy. Gollum still chooses to betray them in that moment because he's so consumed by his lust for the ring. And that's what brings us to the beginning of this chapter. He refuses that pardon. He refuses that release from his oath, and he takes them through this tunnel. This is they come up onto this tunnel, and the smell is what strikes them immediately. Sam just goes, "Oh, that smell! It's getting stronger and stronger." Last chapter, they started to begin to smell this reek, and it says that it's a foul reek, not the sickly odor of decay in the meads of Morgul, but it was as if filth unnamable was piled and hoarded in the dark within. So they're going all the way back to Zadie's question about, why is there no poop in Lord of the Rings?
Because it's all in this cave.
Yeah. Yeah. And that latrine that they found back in.
Yeah, right.
Back in the Forest of Ithilien. I think filth is definitely polite way of saying poop here, right? Do you agree?
Yeah, he uses the word filth for that latrine. So this is probably...
Because the other one was an orc pit full of their filth.
Which
seems like it's a latrine. But what made me think of a latrine again here is Sam says, and what makes the smell, I wonder? It's like, well, I wouldn't like to say it. So the fact that he doesn't want to say it is probably because he's being polite.
He's too polite, yeah.
And he goes, some beastly hole of the orcs, I'll warrant, with 100 years of their filth in it. So he's basically saying it smells like a latrine.
Yeah, that's interesting.
With 100 years of poop in it.
Gross.
So, Zadie, you asked a question probably 4 months ago now. And
yeah, now we have your answer.
Be careful what you ask because we might answer it. But of course, Sam can't help but throw a little pot shot at Smeagol here. He goes essentially like, "You said you've been through this hole. Phew, perhaps you don't mind bad smells." He's like, "Yeah, maybe you maybe you like the smell, Smeagol, you dirty, nasty little thing."
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's funny. I mean, I think his reply to that is interesting. He doesn't know what we minds, does he, Precious? No, he doesn't. But Smeagol can bear things.
Yeah,
Yes, he's been through. Oh, yes, right through. It's the only way
that is sort of Smeagol's superpower, isn't it?
to like bear anything for the ring.
For the thing that he wants. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He bears loneliness. He bears hunger and thirst. He bears physical torture. He bears people calling him a sneak.
Yeah.
He's like, I can bear a lot.
Right.
But in the back of his head, he's thinking like, but I'm about to have my payback. It's coming.
Exactly. Yep.
But Frodo says, orcs or no, if it's the only way, we must take it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they make their way into the tunnel. The tunnel it's stagnant. It's dark, but there's a sense that the darkness is darker than just the absence of light. It says, they walked as it were in a black vapor wrought of veritable darkness itself, that as it was breathed, brought blindness not only to the eyes, but to the mind, so that even the memory of colors and of forms and of any light faded out of thought. Night always had been and always would be, and night was all.
Yeah, so maybe Shelob has some kind of spiritual malignancy as well,
Yeah, it says later that she vomits out darkness.
Right. Yep.
It says a veritable darkness itself that as it was breathed brought blindness. So she's vomiting out this darkness as she just lives for thousands of years in this stagnant, disgusting,
hole,
odorous hole. So Gollum goes in first, and he seems to be only a few steps ahead, but it's not long before Sam and Frodo are alone. And it happens subtly. It's not like he just runs off right away. They kind of just slowly realize that the Gollum isn't there. That's part of what I think makes this so scary. It's like a gradual falling into loneliness here. And he's been their guide, and they've relied on him. And Sam especially has been wanting him to get lost for a long time.
Yeah, then he does, and it's even worse. It's really scary that they have to like touch the walls,
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get a little bit of description about the walls being smooth, which surprises them.
Yeah.
And then but I also think it's really scary that they come to openings,
Yeah, they feel like the air change.
And how do they choose? How do you choose? I guess you just keep going forward, right? But that is really, it kind of freaks me out. Some of my,
oh gosh, yeah,
my feeling of like claustrophobia in a way, but then it's almost worse. Like when that like opens up and like your hand all of a sudden is in the air.
it's the worst.
As you've been following the wall. Ugh.
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
Really scary.
Sam says, "There's more than one passage here." It says that he whispered it with an effort. It seemed hard to make his breath give any sound. It's an orc-like place as ever there could be. And they feel things brush against their heads and their hands. It says long tentacles or hanging growths, perhaps. And these are spider webs. So they just can't see
webs. Yeah, right.
Oh, it's so creepy.
Yeah.
And they seem to lose track of time. It's like, all right, how long has this been? 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours? How many had passed in this lightless hole? Hours? Days? Weeks, rather? Sam left the tunnel side and shrank towards Frodo, and their hands met and clasped. And so together they still went on.
So this is that moment that we talked about last week where, they start to be, well, they were already physically close last week, but where they have to hold each other's hands for strength.
Yeah, all those nuances of class and social expectations just break away because
Absolutely.
they need each other to physically hold each other's hands, and they just grope their way through, hand in hand, feeling the walls, and they come to this place of just the smell is so overwhelming, and just the feeling of evil is so strong that they just fall to their knees. Frodo has to like pull Sam up off the ground because he's lurching and falling forward. He says, "Up! It all comes from here. The stench and the peril. Now for it, quick!" And they just like drag themselves up off the floor and they stumble on forward.
So here's a moment where Frodo is pulling Sam along.
Yeah.
Sam falters a bit, and they kind of go back and forth, I think, throughout the chapter, like heartening each other and pulling each other and encouraging each other when they need to be encouraged.
Yeah, they're not brave at the same time. They're just like able to bolster each other.
And it says I love these short sentences that he gives us, they struggled on, still hand in hand. But then he'll immediately say, but almost at once they came to a new difficulty,
Yeah.
So it's just like barrier after barrier placed in front of them in this chapter. It's so well, like the rhythm and the pace of the chapter is just amazing.
Yeah, and they're like, do you go left? Do you go right? Like, they knew of nothing to guide them, yet a false choice would almost certainly be fatal. So they're desperate. And it's at this point that Sam just says, where's Gollum gone?
Why didn't he wait?
And Frodo just sort of lamely just calls out, Smeagol, Smeagol. It says that his voice croaks in his throat and falls silent as it leaves his lips. There's no answer, not an echo, not even a tremor of the air. And Sam correctly says, he's really gone this time, I fancy. I guess this is just exactly what you were meant to bring us. Gollum, if ever I lay hands on you again, you'll be sorry for it.
As much as he wants him there, he also just hates him.
But Sam says there's something worse than Gollum about. I can feel it. I can feel something looking at us.
Yeah.
It's they can sense that there's this hunter waiting for them to get stuck in his trap. And here's the bit where Sam invokes Tom Bombadil.
I wish old Tom was near us now, he thought. Oh, he doesn't say it out loud. He thinks it.
Huh, yeah. So I guess that means that Sam's writing this chapter, huh?
Well, maybe. I thought he's... Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah. I thought that he said it out loud. But I think there's something kind of powerful about him thinking it to himself. And they're having trouble communicating. Maybe that's part of this like spiritual darkness that they're, it's like hard to talk.
It's like talking underwater or something, like the air is so thick that sound can't carry.
Right. Everything kind of comes out as a rasp. But it's as soon as he says, I wish old Tom was near us now, which is maybe like a prayer.
Yeah, it triggers this vision.
Which is maybe like a prayer. And then as he stood, darkness about him and the blackness of despair and anger in his heart, it seemed to him that he saw a light in his mind, almost unbearably bright at first as a sun ray to the eyes of one long hidden in a windowless pit. Then the light became color, green, gold, silver, white, far off, as in a little picture drawn by elven fingers. He saw the Lady Galadriel standing on the grass in Lorien, and gifts were in her hands. And you, ring-bearer, he heard her say, remote but clear, for you I have prepared this. That is like an incredible description of, I think, what you said before, a vision, but it's an in-breaking vision.
Yeah.
In response to a prayer about Tom Bombadil.
Yeah,
this,
sure.
Like, spiritual force of goodness in the world.
Yeah, he's like invoking a saint.
Which even though he stands in blackness and despair and has anger in his heart, he's not in a place where he's like some kind of like saint. He's in a place where he's truly angry, furious at Gollum, in despair about their situation. And then there's a light in his mind. And then this description of the colors is so,
Yeah.
it's like the white light splits into
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
vision of you know what he had seen in Lorien, but it helps him remember that they've been given this talisman.
Yeah.
Right. So the vision isn't just a vision that's like disconnected. It's a vision that's connected to where they are and the like resources that they have, the gifts they've been given.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that they already have it on them.
what a fantastic just little paragraph. Really amazing.
Yeah, and this is the second time that they've forgotten that they have this powerful tool.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? It's not like the ring, which is constantly calling out to you to use it and command with it and all that.
This is just second time that just in the nick of time. You know, the other time was when the Witch King was looking at Frodo, and Frodo was having to have a battle of his own will to try and keep from putting on the ring.
Yeah.
He remembers the file, and here Sam does. But did you catch what kind of put him into this state? They're standing in the dark, and they're kind of like cursing Gollum.
Oh, yeah.
And they hear a gurgling, bubbling noise and a long, venomous hiss. So they can hear Shelob like creeping up on him. And that's what triggers Sam to know that they're in a trap. And that's what like causes this like vision to kind of erupt in his mind.
And I totally skipped over the fact that he thought of the darkness of the barrow of his sword when he touches his sword.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he also has a gift from Tom, right? He's got.
Yeah, that's another talisman. Yeah, you're so right.
So they hear Shelob.
Yeah. Well, so they curse Gollum, and Sam is like, I feel like something else is here.
Right.
And then they hear the sound of this hiss and this gurgling noise.
Yeah.
And they wheel around. Sam says it's a trap.
Then he touches his sword.
He touches his sword, and that's what makes him think, oh, I wish Tom was here. It like triggers all these like visions to come out. And that's what makes him think of Galadriel, the lady's gift.
Yeah.
And that's when he screams out, he goes, the lady's gift, the star glass, a light to you in dark places, she said it was to be. The star glass. The star glass, muttered Frodo, as one answering out of sleep. So he's forgotten it again. I mean, how long ago do you think it was that he just used this like less than a day ago?
Yeah, 12 hours or something, maybe.
But the darkness of this place is like, you know, just cause him to forget that he has this light.
Yeah, right.
He goes, why, yes, why had I forgotten it? A light when all other lights go out. And now indeed, light alone can help us. So slowly he reaches for the phial of Galadriel and he pulls it out. And the light in it, at first it just glimmers, faint as a rising star, struggling in heavy earthward mists. And then as its power waxed and hope grew in Frodo's mind, it began to burn.
It's like connected to your own hope.
Yeah, it burns brighter. And it says that it kindled to a silver flame, a minute heart of dazzling light, as though Eärendil had himself come down from the high sunset paths with the last Silmaril upon his brow. The darkness receded from it, until it seemed to shine in the center of a globe of airy crystal, and the hand that held it sparkled with white fire. It says that Frodo gazed in wonder at this marvelous gift that he had so long carried, not guessing its full worth and potency. Seldom had he remembered it on the road, until they came to the Morgul Vale, and never had he used it for fear of its revealing light. And then he says, Aya Eärendil Linian Ankalima, and knew not what he had spoken, for it seemed that another voice spoke through his, clear, untroubled by the foul air of the pit.
Yeah, I think that goes to support your idea that it's Galadriel. Another voice had spoken through his.
And it doesn't tell us what this means. But, of course, there is an answer to what this elvish command is.
I didn't look it up, so what does it mean?
Well, somebody asked Tolkien in a letter, like a, studious reader was like, all right, there's no way to translate this based on what's in the text, so I'm just going to write the professor and ask. And he just answered. It means, cool. Hail Eärendil, brightest of stars.
So sort of sort of what you would say if Arendelle had come down.
Yeah.
You would sort of drop
greeting.
to your you would sort of drop to your knees, and and this like king of the elves, in a way,
Yeah.
you would honor the presence of this person in their light.
Elrond's dad.
Elrond's daddy.
And it's we talked about Venus last chapter, and it's going to come up again.
That's my favorite moment in the book. The next
So the next time it comes up,
next book, right?
I believe it's 2 books from now. It's in the next volume. I think it's in book 6. But when they're really on the last leg of their journey, Sam and Frodo just fall down exhausted, like unable to hide, just in the open, and they look up in the clouds, and the kind of the smokes of the fumes of Mordor are blocking out the stars, but then a light shines through, and it's Venus. It's the light of Arendelle, Elrond's father, that breaks through, and Sam has this revelation where he's just like, Sauron can destroy everything down here, but he can't touch the light up there. Like, try as he might, there's light and high beauty that he can't reach. And it strengthens him. It's this moment. I think it's one of my favorite moments in the entire book. But that light, Frodo carries it with him on his
around his neck, basically, right?
Yeah, he's got it with him in his pocket.
And then he doesn't even remember it's there. I think that's Tolkien sort of saying like, hey, remember, this is a light that we all have with us. It's not something you keep in a file. It's something you keep in your heart. But
well said.
Yeah. But
other potencies there are in Middle Earth, powers of night, and they are old and strong. And it says, and she, with a capital S, that walked in the darkness, had heard the elves cry that cry far back in the deeps of time, and she had not heeded it, and it did not daunt her now.
Scary.
We see 2 great clusters of many windowed eyes.
Ugh. The coming menace was unmasked at last. Oh, man. That's so good.
Unmasked at last. Monstrous and abominable eyes they were, bestial, and yet filled with purpose and with hideous delight, gloating over their prey trapped beyond all hope of escape.
She's been in this position before, right? This is normal for her. Something
Yes.
comes wandering into this cave or gets shoved in or whatever, and this is her job, is to devour whatever comes in toward her. So they flee, right? Which you would. Like, it's hard to blame these guys for running away. But I just think it's fascinating. The hobbits, we've just described their kind of indomitable spirit and courage in the past, in the face of things that are so much bigger and more terrifying than they've ever experienced before.
Right.
And Frodo stops and says, "Stand, stand," he cried desperately. "Running is no use."
Yeah.
And then he invokes Galadriel.
Yeah, and that's another, throughout the book, people will have battle cries.
The Shire.
Gondor. Elendil,
Right.
It's like Frodo invoking Galadriel, I think is so fitting.
Yeah, it's awesome.
She's exactly the person that you would want in this moment. Like a lady of light in this dark place. And Frodo holds up his hand and his file and his sword, and he advances towards this ancient spider monster.
And I love the way that this is written. First of all, Frodo's heart flamed within him.
Yes.
And I couldn't help but think of the heart of Christ on fire.
Oh.
But then this totally high fantasy moment, heroic moment. Frodo, Hobbit of the Shire, walks steadily down to meet the eyes. Like, what? What are they thinking?
3 foot tall, sword in his hand. Don't give up. what kind of spider you are.
He just faces him down. And I want to believe that this inspires Sam later, you know?
Oh, I mean, Sam has his moment of courage.
And we've talked about how Sam doesn't have a lot of his own ideas.
Yeah, he just kind of copies Frodo here. I think you're right.
But later on, like, he has to have a heroic moment, and he's like, well, I guess I could do it too, you know?
And Sam's like heroics, he becomes like a living legend to the orcs.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait till we get there, because it's just like
an elf warrior out of myth or something like that, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah,
say
because
something like that?
they never get a good look at him, so he kind of becomes this like larger than life like elf warrior who defeats Shelob, and like rumor spreads among the orcs like wildfire. Frodo's got that same spit in him, man. Like
absolutely.
He's charging down Shelob too.
Doubt came into the eyes as the light approached, and then one by one the eyes dim, they draw back, and it says, no brightness so deadly had ever afflicted them before. From sun and moon and star they had been safe underground, but now a star had descended into the very earth.
A star had descended into the very earth.
Incredible.
And then, like, I love, because Tolkien is like, I think we've probably stopped and read every time Tolkien has like one of those like 30-word long sentences.
Yeah.
He also is like great for a 3-word sentence.
Yeah, totally.
They were gone.
Yeah, she flees in the face of Frodo's total determination toward, like, we're not going to be defeated by this thing in this darkness, you know?
Stand. And Sam is just like, oh, hell yeah, Master Frodo. He's like,
come up, Mr. Frodo.
Master, stars and glory. But the elves would make a song of that if ever they heard it, and may I live to tell them and hear them sing. But don't go on, Master. Don't go on down that den. Now's our only chance. Now let's get out of this foul hole. So he recognizes, like, Frodo's like, oh, like, hold me back, Sam. Hold me back. Like, he's running after her. He's not just like good with her running away. He's like, all right, let's finish this thing.
Yeah.
But Sam is like, no, we got to get out of here.
We got to go. We got to make a smart decision here.
And that's when they make their way like towards the exit. It says the opening, the tunnel's end. At last it was before them. And they're running for it, but they find that it's blocked, not by stone, but by something soft and yielding, yet strong and impervious. It's these extra tensile strength super webs that they can't get past.
Well, and supposedly, spider silk is stronger than steel. Like if you had a rope of
like tensile strength,
like if you had a rope of spider silk that was as thick as, you know, a rope of steel, that the spider silk would be stronger. And so, you know, the idea that they come up upon this and Sam kind of laughs. Yeah. He's like, oh, it's just cobwebs.
Right.
But these are like not just anybody's cobwebs. These are Shelob's cobwebs.
Yeah, and you're not getting through them.
And they need, you know, I mean, what they need is a magic sword, and luckily they have one. So
yeah, I love how they, you know, like Sam's dismissive at first. He's like, is that all? Like cobwebs, like you said. But it says that, like, Frodo tries to shine his light through it from the file, and the light, like, kind of doesn't
dies.
Yeah, it can't shine through them. It says, holding aloft the file, Frodo looked, and before him he saw a grayness, which the radiance of the star glass did not pierce and did not illuminate, as if it were a shadow that, being cast by no light could dissipate. So, yeah, there's this idea that this is darkness that's not merely an absence. It has a positive quality to it.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And it says that these cobwebs are like as thick as ropes. and Sam tries to slash at one, and it just like wrenches his hand back.
Like boing.
Yeah, exactly. They try to hurl themselves into it, and it just bounces them right back. And he finally gets one cut after tons of effort, and it snaps and cuts his hand.
Oh, I missed that.
Says one end of it lashed Sam's hand, and he cried out in pain, starting back and drawing his hand across his mouth. So it draws blood.
Wow, interesting. Yeah.
But Sam is like, this is going to take days to cut through all this. And he invokes the curse of Faramir. Did you catch this?
Yeah, I love that.
It says, trapped in the end. Gnats in a net. That's a great alliteration there, isn't it? Gnats in a net. May the curse of Faramir bite that golem and bite him quick.
Frodo's reply is, that wouldn't help us now, said Frodo. Come, let's see what Sting can do. It's an elven
he's like,
blade.
Gollum dying wouldn't actually help us get out of here.
Yeah, we actually just need to get out of here. And but I love this. He says, there were webs of horror in the dark ravines of Beleriand where it was forged, Sting was forged.
Right.
But you must be the guard and hold back the eyes. And then he gives, this is really important, that he gives the file to Sam.
Yes. And he says, do not be afraid.
Yeah. So something about your own hope interacts with the file.
Yeah. He's basically like, hey, like, keep an eye on my back. I'm going to use this blade, which was forged in Gondolin.
Right.
Which, all the way back in The Hobbit, they find these Gondolin forged swords in the nasty troll horde. That's where Gandalf gets his blade, and Thorin Oakenshield gets his blade as well. But Gondolin was in this place called Beleriand, which was like way far up north, like farther west than the Shire. And in the wars with Morgoth, it was completely destroyed and is now under the sea.
Right.
Which, like, whenever people are like, why didn't the Valar just come and like help?
Because it like destroys the world when God shows up.
like when the gods come to war,
right?
It like destroys the ground you walk. You don't want that to happen. So Beleriand is where Gondolin was, where these swords were forged. But it says that essentially like it was made for this. There were dark ravines in Beleriand where it was forged, and people had to fight spiders just like this all the time.
Mm-hmm. Tolkien makes someone chopping at webs so exciting.
Yeah, sounds so freaking cool. The blue gleaming blade shore through them like a scythe through grass, and they leapt and writhed and then hung loose. I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, and Frodo's just, it's a stroke after stroke he dealt.
Ha! Ha! On guard! Ha!
Until at last all the web within his reach was shattered, and the upper portion blew and swayed like a loose veil in the incoming wind. So it also allows some breeze, right, to come in from the outside.
Right.
Because we've been told how still and there's like this breathless air. But this opens up, their way out. The trap was broken.
That's another great short sentence in this chapter. The trap was broken. And Frodo like loses his mind here.
Yeah, it's almost like the fear catches up with him that he had, put at bay with his heroic stand against Shelob, and it describes him as drunk. His head whirled as with a draught of potent wine.
Yes.
And he just runs. It's just like crazed in a way. And he sprang out shouting as he came. And then he's just crazed, he's running with like abandon.
And
totally unaware of what's going on around him.
Yeah.
And I think it's really fascinating that Sam has a little bit more, I don't know.
His head's on his shoulders a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
It describes it as his master's fey mood, Fey, which kind of describes like someone getting like crazed in the midst of a battle where they kind of lose regard for their own personal safety and just sort of take unnecessary risks because they have like battle lust on them.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's Fey here. He's so overcome with optimism after he's gotten out of this. He's going out into Mordor. It's not
Yeah.
like he's like
It's
going
not
out into the Shire. But it
right.
says, yet it seemed to Frodo that he looked upon a morning of sudden hope. So it's like, compared to the pit of despair they've been in, the worst place on earth looks like
Kind of beautiful.
beautiful. It says that he runs out into this cleft of rock that now we know is called Cirith Ungol, and he just races out of it. It says a short race, a sprinter's course, and he would be through. And he cries back to Sam. He's like, "The pass, Sam." He goes, "The pass, run, run. We'll be through before anyone can stop us." And it says that he doesn't heed the shrillness of his voice. He's being way too obvious and loud here.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam runs behind as fast as he can, but Frodo pulls ahead. And this is what allows Shelob to, using her secret tunnels, get between Sam and Frodo. There's like this like little break in the narrative for a little bit of like exposition about sort of the history of Shelob and who she is and where she comes from.
Is and where she comes from. This is probably more background we get about a female character than anybody else in the whole book.
Shelob has more interiority than,
which is like, not the best. But
hey, whoever said Tolkien can't write female characters? All right,
as long as it's a spider from hell.
Yeah, Shelob has a rich interior life. All right. I was just remembering as I was reading this chapter, I was just remembering way back in, God, I can't remember how long ago this was. Months, probably almost a year ago.
Yeah.
We just kind of listed the female characters. We're like, all right, let's just make a list.
Yeah, right. And did we list Shelob? I think we must have.
Well, if I remember correctly, we were like, all right, we got Lobelia Sackville Baggins.
Yep.
Okay. We got Arwen, Eowyn,
yep.
Galadriel.
Sure, of course.
And then I said, is that it? And then you said, is Shelob a woman?
Yeah. I don't know. It's I don't exactly know what it says. I'm sure that there's been ill ink spilled on this as a feminist critique of Tolkien. I would be shocked if there wasn't.
No, yeah, it's probably not our place to.
And we are probably not. Yeah, it's not our place to go into that. But I think it's worth just pointing out that like Shelob gets a little interiority here that the other female characters don't.
So we don't need to get like too deep in the lore here. People can, go back and look at this, but, we find out that she is ancient, that she's been here longer than Sauron, that her mom is the, ancient demon spider who killed the light of the world. Did you catch that it says that the Mirkwood spiders are her bastard children that she mothered from her own children and then she devoured them?
Yeah, gross.
So she mates with her own children and then after she mates with them, she kills them. Is what I got from this.
Yeah. Bloated and grown fat with endless brooding on her feasts, weaving webs of shadow. Bastards of the miserable mates, her own offspring that she slew, spread from glen to glen.
So does that mean that she mated with her own children and then once she had mated with them, she eats her mates?
I think bastards of the miserable mates, comma, her offspring means that the mates are her own offspring.
Yeah, that's gross.
That's gross. That is gross.
And it says that, she's been here for a really long time. She eats elves and men. And of course she eats lots of orcs. And that in time past, Gollum had found her and bowed down to her and promised to bring her sweeter meat. It's like she's getting tired of eating orcs, essentially. So Gollum's plan all along has been to have Shelob eat the hobbits, and then once he discards their bones and their clothes, he'll root through them and get the precious back. Because it says his lust was not her lust. She just wants to feed. She doesn't care about rings. She doesn't care about towers. And so Gollum knows this. And it says, we'll save the precious as we promised. So here's the twisted, mangled logic of his oath in his own mind, that he promised to save the precious, and that's how he's going to do it. And he goes, oh yes, and when we've got it safe, we'll pay her back. We'll pay everyone back. This line here is haunting. It goes, right after he says he'll pay everyone back, he goes, so he thought in an inner chamber of his cunning, which he still hoped to hide from her, even when he had come to her again and had bowed low before her while his companions slept.
Ugh.
So this is what he's doing right before Sam calls him a snake.
Yeah, right.
That's why it's so wounding.
Right.
Because it's true.
Yeah. Right.
And then we get this like strange like interiority, like the mood of this whole section is a really sharp like diversion from the rest of this chapter. Really, from like the book doesn't do this that often.
No, it doesn't.
Where you get this like kind of narrative like zoom out
right
on like the intentions and the history of an individual character just explained by the narrator like this. But here we get it of Sauron himself.
Yeah, and Sauron is such a far off force through so much of the book that so to like go into his mind is really
yeah, it's strange, right?
Yeah, it's strange, and it's sort of exciting. You get this glimpse into who he is.
Sauron's psychology.
Yeah. He knew where she lurked.
Yeah, he knows that she's there. It pleased him that she should dwell there hungry but unabated in malice, a more sure watch upon that ancient path upon his land than any other that his skill could have devised. And orcs, they were useful slaves, but he had them in plenty. If now and again Shelob caught them to stay her appetite, she was welcome. He could spare them. And sometimes as a man may cast a dainty to his cat, he calls her, Sauron would send her prisoners that he had no better uses for, and he would have them driven to her hole and report brought back to him of the play she made. So
yeah,
he's
it's like a pet,
It's a pet, but his orcs are so disposable to him that not only does he send them out to be killed by her, but he like is like, oh, and by the way, tell me like exactly how she kills them. Yeah.
Ugh.
It's entertaining to him.
So they both lived, delighting in their own devices, and feared no assault, nor wrath, nor any end of their wickedness.
Never yet had any fly escaped from Shelob's webs, and the greater now was her rage and hunger.
It's kind of like the most companionship that Sauron has, in a way,
Yeah.
They're aware of each other, or at least Sauron's aware of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's such an interesting, you kind of like get this description where you imagine Sauron sometimes just sitting and thinking about Shelob off in the distance, or asking, like, when's the last time she killed an orc? And, whatever the mouth of Sauron tells him or something.
Hey, take some of my prisoners and give her a little
treat. Make sure she's still there.
Terrible.
Really weird.
What the narrator says, but of course Sam doesn't know any of this. Poor Sam doesn't know. Which begs the question, who wrote this? Who wrote this section? Who knew all this stuff? Who could possibly know all this stuff? This is like God's eye, like.
Yeah, this is Tolkien talking to us directly, right?
Yeah.
Like this goes beyond the whole meta narrative aspect of the storytelling.
Authorship.
Yeah. Into just the pure authorship of J.R.R. Tolkien telling us this story that he thinks is great.
Yeah,
it is great.
Like, he knows this about it, and like he's like, and nobody's gonna read the Silmarillion, and probably nobody's gonna read this, and so this is like my one shot to let all this lore come out.
Yeah,
I just think it's, even the this is probably in his mind. He's thinking, okay, the Silmarillion's not going to be published, so nobody's going to even know the story of Ungoliant and Beren and Luthien and the Silmarils and Arendelle. And so I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit of that in here just so that some of it gets out into the world. Because as much as like he has Lord of the Rings figured out, he had all those other stories figured out.
Right. So I think it's a pure act of creative, like, love of the author for his own work and just enjoyment,
Yeah.
You kind of imagine, Tolkien sitting and writing this and just feeling actualized, that he gets to sit and do this. And this is some part of his job, right? That, or goes beyond his job. It's his vocation, to tell these stories to us. So, but it's a good question. It certainly wasn't Sam who wrote these paragraphs.
It's just an interesting shift in tone, when Sam sees Frodo running off, here's where it says that he's in a fey mood, running heedlessly. And Frodo's, just recently, as you pointed out, I think it's good to kind of keep track of where the file is. Sam has the file, and he has his barrow blade, and apparently his staff from Faramir. Frodo's just running off with Sting out in the open, screaming for Sam to follow him.
To rush the pass, yeah.
And Sam is able to see that Frodo's sword is glittering with blue flame, which means that orcs are about. And it says he saw that though the sky beyond was now dark, still the window in the tower was glowing red. So that's the tower of Cirith Ungol that they saw all the way back on the winding stair.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, orcs, we'll never rush it like this. There's orcs about, and worse than orcs. And he remembers the need to be secret, and he puts the file back into his pocket. And he tries to run off and catch Frodo. And as soon as he puts the star glass away, he sees ahead of him, now like in the full light of day, he's able to see exactly what this thing is. And it's terrifying. It says, great horns she had, and behind her short stalk-like neck was her huge swollen body, a vast bloated bag swaying and sagging between her legs. Its great bulk was black, blotched with living marks, but the belly underneath was pale and luminous and gave forth a stench. Her legs were bent with great knobbed joints high above her back, and hairs that stuck out like steel spines, and at each leg's end there was a claw. I mean, that's like a 30-word sentence right there.
Yeah, it is.
Full of alliteration. Bloated
all those
bag
bees, yeah.
between her legs, black and blotched. I mean, how many bees is that in a row? Swaying and sagging and swollen and spines and stench. Lots of B's and lots of S's all in a row. Soft squelching.
She kind of has to squeeze herself out of the lair.
Yeah, because she's so bloated. Yeah.
But she's fast. Yeah. Jinx. Yeah, she's very fast. And it says makes a sudden bound, so maybe she can kind of even jump.
Yeah, it's so scary. But it says that she avoids Sam, and it speculates that it might be because Sam still has the light. But Frodo is bereft of his file, and he's running heedless up the path, unaware of his peril. And so Sam cries out.
Look out behind, master! But suddenly his cry was stifled. And why is that?
Gollum, using the oldest trick in the book, the sneak from behind and cover their mouth trick. A long, clammy hand went over his mouth, and another caught him by the neck while something wrapped itself about his leg. So you can imagine like one hand over the mouth, one hand over the throat, a foot crooked.
Like a leg around
his leg. Taken off his guard, he toppled backwards into the arms of his attacker. And Gollum takes a moment to gloat.
Yeah, to gloat. This is classic, kind of classic storytelling,
Oh, got him at last, my precious. We've got him. Yes, the nasty hobbit. Nasty with 2 S's. Did you notice that?
No. Interesting.
Nasty. Yeah. It's elongated nasty. We takes this one. She'll get the other. Oh, yeah, Shelob will get him. Not Smeagol, as he promised. He won't hurt Master at all, but he's got you, you nasty, filthy little sneak. He
Right.
spat on Sam's neck.
So that's where he calls him Sneak, which you mentioned, I think, last episode. But Sam is not a sneak.
Sam's not a sneak.
So that shows that interiority of Gollum, that he's, you know, he's guilty of being a sneak. He is a sneak.
The worst thing that he can think to call someone else is the worst thing about himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
But Sam takes the opportunity. Gollum takes a moment to gloat. Sam takes that opportunity to like get up, jump in the air, and put all of his like body weight right into Gollum's stomach and knock the breath out of him.
It's like a pro wrestling move. I love that it says his fury at the treachery gave to Sam a sudden violence and a strength that was far beyond anything that Gollum had expected from this slow, stupid hobbit as he thought him.
Yeah.
I kind of imagine Sam actually writing this part because I think that I like to imagine that he gets back to the Shire and like grows out of that self-deprecating, you know, place where we find him so often. But for him to kind of like ironically say,
he thought I was dumb.
He thought I was a slow, stupid hobbit, but I had strength that I didn't that he didn't expect, and my fury, you know, at being separated from my master, gave me the strength and the violence to finally strike this wretched creature down.
It says, Sam played his last trick. With all his strength, he pulled away, got his feet firmly planted. Then suddenly he drove his legs against the ground and with his whole force hurled himself backwards. Not expecting even this simple trick from Sam, Gollum fell over with Sam on top, and he received the weight of the sturdy hobbit in his stomach. Sturdy hobbit is a good way of saying he's fat.
I think he's stocky. Sam is a stocky guy.
I love the description of like how he just like beats the living hell out of Gollum with his stick. It says Sam tore himself forward and away, stood up, then quickly he wheeled away to his right, pivoted on the wrist held by Gollum. Laying hold of the staff with his left hand, Sam swung it up, and down it came with a whistling crack on Gollum's outstretched arm just below the elbow. So he gets him like one time good on the arm.
Hits him hard, yeah. God, that would hurt.
Gollum lets out a squeal. And then it says that Sam deals another savage blow. Quick as a snake, Gollum slithers aside, and the stroke aimed at his head fell across his back. So, I mean, he's aiming straight at Gollum's head. And my sense is if you get hit this hard with
it kills you.
That's a death blow.
Yeah.
The staff cracked and broke. That was enough for him. Grabbing her from behind was an old game of his, and seldom had he failed in it. But this time, misled by spite, he had made the mistake of speaking and gloating before he had both hands on his victim's neck. So if he had just like gone straight for killing him without taking the time to gloat,
yeah,
that would be the end of Sam the Stout-Hearted.
It's such a classic storytelling, you know, thing to have the antagonist be so full of himself that he has to describe, you know, what he's doing, and that gives our hero a chance, you know, to wiggle his way out. And Gollum bounds away like a frog.
Yeah. Before Sam could reach him, he was off, running with amazing speed back towards the tunnel. And kind of the way that Frodo was like running after Shelob earlier, Sam pursues Gollum with his sword in his hand, like ready to kill him.
He's got like a bloodlust or something like that, right? Like he's got a fury.
It says, for the moment, he had forgotten everything else but the red fury in his brain and the desire to kill Gollum. But as he like gets to the exit of this tunnel that he's just come out of again, and he sees the dark hole with the stench coming out of it, it says that like a clap of thunder, the thought of Frodo and the monster smote upon Sam's mind. And he spins around and rushes wildly after Frodo, calling his name. But it says he was too late. So far, Gollum's plot has succeeded. Wow.
One more chapter in this volume.
Can't believe it. We're almost 2/3 done with the project.
Wild.
Thanks so much for reading along with us this week. Next week, we pick back up with the last chapter in Book 4, The Choices of Master Samwise. As we mentioned at the top of the pod, if you enjoy listening to Wayward Wizards, you can help us out by subscribing on whatever platform you use to listen to the podcast. Follow on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, rate and review, or share the podcast with a Lord of the Rings fan in your life. If you want to see what our faces look like, you can watch us on YouTube. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. And that's a great place to leave us comments. We read every comment and we respond to every comment on YouTube. If you'd like more info about the podcast, you can always go to waywardwizards.com, or you can email us at info@waywardwizards.com.
And until next time, may the curse of Faramir bite that Gollum and bite him quick.
Bite him. See you next week.
Bye.